Multiversus. Now, I took a lot of the advice I got from my other video yesterday. I uploaded about Jake and my Jake guide. The music was quite loud, so I'm very, very sorry for that, everyone, if anyone is returning. But anyway, without further ado, we've adjusted it today, and now tonight we're going to be making an Arya Stark guide. Now, the first thing that you guys need to understand is that Arya is a much more complicated character to play, in my opinion, than Jake is, and she requires a bit of a higher skill level. So I would say stay away from Arya, especially because the game actually gives her an expert warning. So I would say stay away from Arya until you're at least confident with one or two other characters, and that way you're kind of familiar with the game mechanics and you're ready to actually take on a more complex character. Now, okay, Arya's moves, they're also very complicated. You guys need to kind of work around her cooldown. She has a lot of abilities that go on cooldown quite often. And honestly, you're going to want to keep those abilities up as much as you can because some of them are quite powerful, in my opinion. Now, as I said, she has quite a few, 3 a total of, I think, that can go on cooldown. Possibly more, but, you know, look, she has a lot of cooldowns. That's what you guys need to know. So, her moves, okay? Her neutral light is a lunging jab, and she actually lunges quite a big distance, as you guys can see, and she kind of skips back a little bit. So if you are someone's attacking, you can kind of skip back and stab them, get a bit of damage going, which is pretty good. If you fully charge it, it does about 8 damage, which isn't bad. Okay, it's not bad. In the air, this is the same. No, it's not. Anyway, she does a slice in the air, as you guys can see. Wait, I was doing side, never mind. I apologize, everyone. She spins the dagger with her neutral light in the air. Anyway, her forward light on the ground is she does a 2-hit combo with her sword and then whips out a dagger. It doesn't knock back too far, but it does a decent amount of damage if you hit both hits, in my opinion. It's not amazing, but it, you know, it's wait, does it even? Look, it's alright. It does 6 damage. It's okay. Anyway, so that is her attack on the ground. Her side light, her light up on the ground is she charges up kind of like an overarching uppercut attack. I'm not quite too sure on the hitbox for it. It doesn't appear to be too insane, which is fine. But that is her up light attack on the ground. Her down attack on the ground is she rolls, has an iframe, rolls around and does a backslash behind the opponent. Obviously, you know, you can miss with this if you're not close enough to them. I should have mentioned this earlier. I'm very, very sorry for forgetting, guys, but Arya's has a passive ability where she does increased damage to enemies if she hits them from behind, which is why this attack is really, really useful, because she hits them in the back, she does increased damage, and it's awesome because increased damage is increased damage. It's what you want. Now, okay, all of Arya's, I'll show you on her move list here, all of her special attacks are the exact same in the air as they are on the ground. You guys can see there. So this kind of simplifies it a little bit in the sense that you don't have to worry about having an extra 4 attacks that do different things like you would with Jake or a bunch of other characters. Now, okay, Arya's neutral, and for that reason, I'm not going to go over them in the air. I'll go over her light attacks quickly in the air, but for her specials, I'm just going to go over them because it doesn't really matter. Now, her down light in the air, she kind of falls and does like a stab. Now, this has, in my opinion, it makes sense, but it has a really small hitbox. So you have to be precise with it, which is obviously a bit hard to hit if everyone's kind of dashing everywhere and moving and no one's really standing still. It's got a much smaller hitbox than Jake's skateboard attack that I showed you guys yesterday. But anyway, you guys will get a feel for it if you use Arya. Her neutral, I already showed you. She spins the dagger, and it's alright. It kind of doesn't really do a lot of damage, but honestly, that's more of a protective thing in my opinion rather than an offensive maneuver, purely because the range is so small. If an enemy is right in your face, this is when you're going to probably want to use an attack like this or this attack. As you can see, it's really not that useful because you can't really hit anyone unless you're right on top of them. Her forward light in the air is she does a side slash. Now this, it's an alright attack, okay? It's an alright. What you guys need to understand about Arya is, not for some reason, okay? She doesn't hit hard, right? She specializes, at least the way I see it, in lots of quick attacks and kind of ticking up the damage on your opponent. She doesn't really have a lot of hard-hitting attacks. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing because she's really maneuverable. It allows her to get in, do a bunch of quick hits, and then possibly get out as well. Okay. Her up in the air is she does a double slash. That's her up light in the air. She does a bit of a double slash, which is cool. It hits alright, but it's nothing too special. It doesn't launch the enemy crazy. So she doesn't have a lot of knockout potential. So I would say if you're using Arya, she's best used in 2v2s, where you're going to have an ally there, possibly playing a bit of a harder hitting character, so that way you can tick them up with Arya and they can just smack them and knock them out. Now her specials, we'll do her neutral. Her neutral special is, if you guys know Game of Thrones, she steals your opponent's face. Now, this is a bit complicated. This is where Arya gets really, really complicated. If you do 2 light attacks, you will steal the light attack of the person you stole the face from. If you do 2 neutral attacks, they have to be neutral. And as you can see, every time it uses, one of those meters goes down. Now, I believe you can do this in the air. You can do it in the air as well. Okay. Fortunately, she has quite a big lunge range with it, so if you want to, you can hit from a decent distance. However, I would recommend probably, ideally, not relying on this ability. Arya, as you guys know, doesn't really hit too hard, and so it's probably not going to be beneficial. But again, I don't know if it changes how hard she hits them if you swap it. So we'll see. I'm not too sure on that, guys. I apologize. Her side special on the ground, well, on the ground and the air are the same, but her side special is she throws a dagger. If that dagger locks into your opponent, you can do the same input and you will teleport to them and do a hit, and it gives you a free opportunity to hit your opponent. I'll show you guys here. That was with no attack. And it gives you a free opportunity to hit your opponent, which is really, really, really helpful because you can yeet this from halfway across the map and still potentially you can teleport straight to them if you hit your opponent or an ally. Whoever you hit, or if you hit nothing and it gets stuck in the stage, you can teleport to the knife. It's really beneficial for movement and it's really, really helpful. Now without the dagger, if you do the same input, Arya does this kind of this twirly spin attack, which is pretty decent in my opinion. It's a good substitute when you don't have the dagger. And it hits 4 times, sends them a bit far, but again, ideally you want to have your cooldowns up as much as possible with any character, but Arya especially. Her down special is, if I had a teammate here, I'd be able to show you guys. You know what, we'll just convert this guy over to Team 1. Okay. There we go. With Arya's down special, she teleports to her ally and gives them turn attack. Now, what turn attack does is, I believe, turn attack causes them to turn around, so it gives Arya pretty much a free backstab hit. In addition to your ally as well. It gives Arya a free backstab hit, and obviously, as you guys know, she gets more damage from behind. So it's quite beneficial as well, okay? Especially because it's a great escape tool. It doesn't quite have the unlimited range that the dagger does. I don't actually even think, I could be wrong on the dagger having unlimited range as well. But it doesn't have quite as big a range, at least I think. Now her up special, whether on the ground or in the air, I'll show you guys here. We'll just swap his team again. I'll show you guys here. She swings a dagger, and if she hits an opponent, she dashes towards them where they hit. So it gives you guys a free follow-up, which is really beneficial. Really, really good for getting more hits in, racking up the more damage. The only downside is, if you miss, it has a pretty small hitbox. Especially because of the dagger, it's not her sword, so it's even shorter. So those are Arya's, that's her moveset. Again, I say, I would ideally get the hang of, or at least get a really good feel for 1, maybe even 2, possibly more characters before trying any expert character. Not just Arya. They have more advanced mechanics where you have to keep more track of more things going on. and it can get really hectic and overwhelming if you're not really familiar with how the game works or the game's mechanics. Now, the perks I like to rock, as you guys can see here, I like to rock Betrayal. You do get a bit of a longer cooldown, but you buff your ally or you buff yourself, which helps you put out more damage. And, okay, in my opinion, Arya has the potential for a lot of perks to work on her. I'll show you guys what I mean in a second. I personally like using CoffeeZilla because it gives her more cooldown reduction. You can use your abilities more often, which means more movement around the map and potentially more damage as well. Not just for Arya, but for her ally. I like using Snowball Effect as well. Your team deals 7% increased damage against the fighter with the highest damage. It's better in 1v1s than 2v2s in my opinion, because you and your ally could focus different people, and Arya could be hitting someone, and obviously, as we know, she doesn't hit overly hard. So you could be losing out on some DPS with this perk, as in this perk could really not be working for you in any way because you're not hitting the highest damage opponent. So in my opinion, this is much better in 1v1s rather than 2v2s, unless you're communicating with a teammate and you're playing with a friend. That is a different story because you guys can coordinate who you're attacking, but if you're playing randoms and you're random queuing, I would not recommend using this perk. And I like this perk as well, back to back. Your team receives 6% reduced damage when near an ally. I like rocking this. It makes Arya a tiny bit tanky, especially because she has a bunch of movement abilities. I say a bunch, 2, where she can dash a lot to her ally or enemies. So she's moving a lot, and she's typically going to be within relative close proximity of an ally. So that is a very good perk in my opinion if you want to make Arya a little bit tankier. Again, I say she has a lot of perks that work for her. I could honestly see you rocking 2 offensive perks, maybe 1 defense or 1 utility, swap them in or out, but I could see you rocking maybe a Snowball Effect, or where was it? Up and a Slay, or Percussive Punch Power, or both of them. I could see a lot of different perk builds for Arya because she is a very, as you guys know, expert character to use, so she has a lot of versatility, requires a higher skill cap, which means you're probably going to work out more ways to use her. Arya is a very complicated character. It took me a little bit to get the hang of her. I'm still not the best, obviously, but I really am getting a feel for her now. These are the perks I like, okay? Arya can work with a lot of perks, in my opinion. One day there may be a meta build that comes out for her, but we'll see until that day. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Again, hopefully the audio is better in this video, but thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed. I stream every day, or as often as I can, over at twitch.tv/WelshGooch or Gouch, however you prefer to pronounce it. And I stream Multiversus, I stream Genshin Impact, I stream a bunch of games. And so if you're interested, feel free to come on over. And if you guys enjoyed, I encourage you to subscribe because every little bit helps me grow, and I love the support. So thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one.